After the mini-sode I had made for Broken Sword the Sleeping Dragon, I went and looked at just how many adventure games that came from PC had made their way to the Big Green, and I was surprised. There are quite a few titles on the Big Green that had made their home on personal computers, but there's one series that I have to admit always had my curiosity when I'd see the cover at my local GameStop: Syberia. Syberia is the creation of Benoit Sokal, a comic book writer/artist as well as a game developer. His first work was a comic called Inspector Canardo, starring a down-on-his-luck duck detective who loves booze, smokes, and women. He then worked at game developer Microids, where he worked on his first adventure game, Amerzone, based on one of the Canardo strips. A few years later, his sophomore project, Syberia, was released. Of course, being that the Big Green was essentially a consoleized PC, Syberia did make it to the TV screen. But how does Mr. Sokal's vision fare on original Xbox? Let's take a look and find out. Syberia tells the story of Kate Walker, an American lawyer who travels to a small village in France to oversee the final steps for the takeover of a toy factory. Upon arriving, Kate discovers that the owner of the factory has died and she must contact the owner's brother, believed to be dead but is indeed alive, to take over. As Kate goes to find him, she'll be taken on a journey that she didn't expect, and perhaps make some tough choices about her own life in the process. As most adventure games have you searching for an artifact or finding a way to save the world from the big evil, it's great to play a game with a more personal experience for the main character. Like Broken Sword, Syberia is a point-and-click adventure game where you must guide Kate on her journey to find Hans, the lost heir to the factory, by talking with NPCs, collecting key items, and solving puzzles. Plus, with there being no form of game over, you don't have to worry about dying, allowing you to just play through the game with no worries of having to restart a tough puzzle. And that's really all there is to say about the gameplay. Although, in making the leap from PC to Big Green, it did leave Syberia with a few hiccups. Since there's no mouse and keyboard accessories for Xbox, Syberia adapts a control style similar to Broken Sword the Sleeping Dragon, where you move around in a 3D environment and highlight items by getting near them and pressing the interact button. However, unlike Broken Sword, it felt like Microids didn't fully optimize the controls, as controlling Kate is horrible. Because Syberia was a point-and-click adventure, the game has barriers that would let you know that you couldn't move there. Here, you'll be bouncing off invisible barriers left and right and trying to enter doors when Kate will auto-walk away from it. This is very apparent when trying to activate items or just trying to talk to NPCs. You have to make sure Kate's in the right spot, otherwise you're going to have some trouble. You can just press the interact button when you see the icon and Kate will automatically walk towards what's selected, but that's just the small relief. Other than that, the only thing I would consider aggravating, and even then I'm stretching it, is that Syberia is one of those games where you'll be doing a lot of back and forth just to get one thing done. For example, in this university/city, you need to get some berries to shoo away some birds. To do this, you have to talk to one person, then they tell you, go talk to this person. Then you go to said NPC and they say, I don't know, go back to the first guy. Then you go back to him and then he says, I don't know, go talk to a different guy. You see where I'm going with this. To me, this stuff is just old school padding, so I can't be too annoyed with it. But for some, this might get tedious really fast. Visually, Syberia has some stunning graphics for the time, mostly due to the backgrounds being pre-rendered, with some FMV thrown in. Sadly, on the Xbox version, the FMV sequences are a bit compressed, making them look off compared to the beautiful scenery. As for Kate and the rest of the supporting cast, they actually look pretty good, especially Miss Walker. In fact, I'm surprised Kate isn't mentioned much when it comes to games with a woman for a lead. For audio, the music, when it shows up, is a nice orchestral soundtrack that screams fantasy epic. Also, I've noticed I use the word orchestral a lot in my reviews, and for that I apologize. It's just, a lot of these games have orchestra soundtracks. As for the cast, they do a decent job, albeit with a few performances that just brought a few laughs my way.
Momo. Momo listening. Can you help me, please? What do? Help me open the dam. Momo's strong. Oops.
Syberia is a wonderful adventure game that doesn't need a crazy plot or tiring save the world trope in order to make it interesting. Just taking in the wonderful scenery as you progress through the adventure is quite refreshing, and working your way to the conclusion is quite the treat. However, like I said with my recent video on Tomb Raider Legend, there are so many ports for Syberia that are much better than this one, even if you're an Xbox collector. Besides playing it on PC, where it came from, it was remastered for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and even recently on Nintendo Switch. Either way, if Syberia looks like something that would interest you, give it a go. It's worth the ride. With the success of Syberia, and the fact that Mr. Sokal envisioned the game as 3 parts, a sequel wasn't far behind. And of course, Syberia 2 did make its way to original Xbox, so eventually it will make its way here to Viridian Flashback. But until that time, this is the Dali Popka saying, as always, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time.